We are.
The Girls Who Gab.
I'm Kassie.
And I'm Bayley. And if you are listening to this or watching this, that means that baby number 2 is here. And that's super exciting. But also a little weird because I can't actually give you updates because this is pre-recorded. So updates will be coming later. Kassie will be kind of giving an update of everything on the baby and how baby and mama are doing and the new family of 4. So this is my last episode for now. And then I'll come back later whenever that happens.
Not to worry, though. We will still have episodes. I will be having guest hosts almost every episode until Bayley makes her way back to us. So this is the beginning of the next segment of Girls Who Gab for now.
Yay!
Let's continue with the episode. Welcome to episode 33, I believe, of the Girls Who Gab. As you just heard, Bayley is still out, so I have a guest host with me today, and this is Chelsea. Chelsea, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself? What do you do on the internet? Where can people find you? How do we know each other?
Hi, my name is Chelsea. I have a booktube channel called Chelseadolling Reads. That's how Kassie and I know ourselves, or each other. I was gonna say ourselves. We actually have an interesting story of how we met because we met through a mutual friend, but I knew Kassie before she knew me because she's just so booktube famous, of course.
Okay.
No, but I have been watching booktube for probably, a long time now. How many years is that? 7, 8, 9? It's been a long time.
Yeah, I think I started my channel, like Miss Sassy Kassie, was around since 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So sometime after that.
Well, I'm pretty sure that I've been watching you from like right around when you started your channel, which is like, I knew that Kassie was, because we both live in Southern California, I knew that she was a Southern California booktuber, and I was like, gosh, it'd be so cool if one day I made a channel and Kassie and I could be friends. Look at us
Here
now.
We are.
I'm so excited. I'm happy to be here. Hello. It's my first podcast. Very excited.
Chelsea's a little bit nervous, and I'm excited. I'm excited.
Just a
Yay.
smidge.
Okay. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about booktube in general, what booktube is, how we both found it, maybe like the history of like our readership, like how did we become readers. The main reason that I wanted Chelsea and I to do this episode is because actually back when I asked Chelsea to come on and do a guest spot while Bayley was going to be on leave, we both had quit booktube. And we were in the feelings of we were probably not going to come back. And since having had that conversation, both of us have made a comeback. Return. Thank you. I'm like, what's the word? A return to the space on the internet. And so I just I want to talk about like all of the stress, pressure, reasons behind why I think both of us I've definitely had multiple times where I've wanted to leave, decided to leave, come back. So kind of like that pull and push of what makes us decide that we want to take a step back and also what makes us decide to come back. I just think that this is a really interesting topic. And I feel like not only people who are in the booktube space, which I think a lot of people who are booktubers will really enjoy this topic, but then also people who just like to read. I feel like it's a fun topic for that viewership too. So that's kind of the topic, but we always start off with, what are we drinking? So what are you having this morning?
I am drinking a lovely hazelnut coffee out of my Disneyland mug because I'm having withdrawals. It's fine. It's fine. What about you?
I have a protein shake. It's cookies and cream, but it's green because it has spinach in it. And I don't know what else I had in it. Some almond butter for like fat content, some milk, I think that's everything. A banana.
Proud of you.
And then the protein. And just everybody, if you're looking for a protein powder and you are okay with whey protein, which is a milk byproduct, so it's not vegan, Bloom Nutrition. I am not sponsored. I wish I was, but they're so good. They're just so good. So highly recommend. But yeah, that's what I'm drinking. Do you
Sounds
make your
yummy.
hazelnut coffee like with a specific syrup or anything?
No, it's actually, I use flavored beans, which might be controversial. I know that some people are very particular about their coffee. I really just like brewed coffee flavored. I use Don Francisco. It's my everything. It's just perfect. It's exactly what I want in the morning, and I love it. Also not spawn, but you can if you want to.
I do really like flavored coffee too. I didn't know that that was a thing that people were snooty about.
Well, I have only been drinking coffee for the last few years, like maybe 2 or 3 years. And I know that like there's people are very particular about how they enjoy
True.
their beans. So I am not
I'm sure
snobby
somebody
whatsoever.
out there is upset. Okay, well,
Sorry.
no, that's fine. Let's move into the next part, which is we always do a cheers to that and a pour one out. So I haven't done one of these in a while because the last episode, our guest host wanted a shorter episode, so we skipped this segment. And then the episode before that was just a bloopers reel. So obviously we didn't do one then. So we haven't heard a cheers to that or pour one out in quite some time. So I'm excited. Do you want me to start? Do you want to start?
Why don't you start since it's been a while for you?
Oh man. Okay, well, we're not going to get super into it because I have a whole video all about it, but since the last time we've had this discussion on this thing, I've had a miscarriage, and I don't want to talk about it on this video because one, I don't want anybody to feel like triggered or anything. So I have a video all about it. I'll link it places in case you are interested in the full story, but I had a very early miscarriage and that was very sad, and yeah, that sucked.
I love you a lot. You're a very strong,
Thank you. I love you.
powerful person.
So frustrating. Now I'm in the anger phase, to be clear. I'm in the anger.
Feel what you gotta feel.
Mm-hmm. So moving on into something maybe less intense.
Yeah. Let's cheers.
Mm-hmm. What was your pour one out this week?
My pour one out this week is probably just that work, as always, is kicking my little booty. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna get through it. But I'm really tired of working full time in a pandemic.
Oh, no.
In person.
Yeah.
It's fine. But
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Oh, I'm so like lucky and grateful to not only be working full time, of course, but also be able to work from home. And
Yeah.
I'm like spoiled now. So we have a all staff meeting next week, and I have a feeling that we're gonna get some information on if we're having to go back to work. And if I'm trying to guess what our CEO is going to decide, I honestly have no idea, because I know as things are starting to like look better, and also as vaccines are becoming more and more available, I have a feeling she's going to want us to go back. But then simultaneously, I'm like, I know she's been very, not like worried, but just like she's been really, really not wanting anybody in the office if there's more than, I don't know. I don't know what like her level of concern would be, but she's just been very like worried about it, I guess. So I'm like, are you
Correct
gonna
me
wait
if I'm
until...
wrong, but have you even worked in person at your new job yet?
No.
Yeah,
Never. I got
didn't
hired
think you
during the
had.
pandemic. Nope. Yeah.
Wow.
So I got hired in June of 2020. They had already been home since March. And so we all are still working from home now. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know where her decision is going to be on if she wants, because I also work like 95% of our employees are deaf, and we work with the deaf. Like our people who come in are all deaf for the most part. So it's like masks can create an issue with the language understanding. So is she going to wait until we don't need to wear masks anymore? Like I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen next week. And I kind of want to go back because, yeah, I want to be around my coworkers, and like, I'm tired of being at home alone all the time. But then simultaneously, like, I do not want that commute back. No thanks.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm so thankful to have kept my job throughout all of this. And like, I'm fortunate that I was able to, you know, pay my bills throughout the pandemic, but it's just been like, there's no good side of this. Like, there's no, like, no matter what situation you're in this pandemic, it's just like so draining. And we're a week away from the year mark of LA shutting down.
Yep.
It's wild. It's been a long year, a short, long year. It's weird.
Yeah, it all flew by, but simultaneously it's like, geez, are we really still here? Oh, I hate it. Yeah. Hate it. Okay.
Want to talk about good things.
Yeah, good things, ending on the good notes. My cheers to that this week. So Matt decided to buy, so we bought a few different new things in the house, all of which I am relatively very excited for. The thing that I bought myself is a Ninja, which is why I got a protein shake. So
we have a Ninja. I love it.
It's so nice. So I got the one that has the like normal blender, and then I have the cup one. I have 2 of those, and then I have the food processor.
We have the same Ninja. It's my favorite thing.
I don't even know like what to use the different, like today was the first day that I used the whole blender because I made both Matt and me the same protein shake, but I've used the cup now. But like I could make cookie dough with this. What do I do?
Okay, my favorite applications for it, cashew milk. I make cashew milk in the blender because it's a high-powered blender. Love it. Use that in like cooking. With the food processor portion, you can use the shredder part and shred all of your cheese, shred your carrots, shred your cucumbers. It's amazing and I love it. I do recommend immediately rinsing it out though, or else it's a pain in the butt to clean, but I love the Ninja. It's
amazing.
Incredible. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Matt was like, why do we need this? And I'm like, I'm excited because I do most of the cooking now. During the pandemic, you also have experienced this. Yes. I know. I've gotten more into cooking. So I've been like experimenting with more and more recipes. And like, we don't have like a chopper or anything. So I'm really excited for the food processor just to chop onions. Like, that's it. That's what I wanted it for. Yep. I'm nice. Sure I'll figure out more things to use it for, but I'm excited.
Garlic too.
Oh yeah.
You can pre-process garlic and stick it in the freezer.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so we bought a Ninja, and then Matt just got us a new TV. So we have this huge giant beast of a TV in our living room. And then how big is it? 55 inch. So it's like, it's still not like, he wanted to get that 65, but I think that would have been too big for our apartment. Really?
Yeah.
It just feels, I've sat in front of that TV, haven't I?
Yeah.
You had that honestly, when we were there last time? Whenever that was, a million years ago?
When we first got it, I thought it was too big, but now we also just got a bunch of new furniture and like, because what else are we going to do in a pandemic? The TV doesn't look, I'm looking at it. It doesn't look as big as it did when we first got it. We mounted it to the wall now. And it doesn't look quite as large as it did when we first got it. So maybe, you guys can upgrade again soon.
I do. No, it was expensive. Absolutely not. The other reason that I think it would have looked funny had it been the 65 is because our entertainment center is the 55 is exactly the same size.
Gotcha.
So it would have been really big. It already looks kind of funny. Like I was like, oh, we need a new entertainment center. I was joking. We're not getting one.
Well, we just bought one and we struggled to find one because we wanted it to be longer than the TV. And as it is, the one that we bought is like maybe 2 inches longer on the sides. But it doesn't look as weird as I thought it would look. But I definitely wish that it was like maybe a foot longer. But yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and then what's even funnier is like, obviously we had a bigger TV out here, and then we have like a little, I think it's like a 20 inch or something, like a little one in our bedroom. So Matt moved in the TV from here into the bedroom, and he's telling me that we're going to replace it. It's the same size as the mirror that sits on our dresser. And I'm like, no.
I love it. I think the one I have in my bedroom.
I don't want it to happen.
I think the one that I have in the bedroom is 55 inches. And I currently have it pulled up to the end of my bed because my old lady dies.
That's huge. It's so big in the
eyes.
bedroom. It's smaller than that because the 55 is bigger than like whatever we had in the living room before. It's a bigger size. But anyways, so those are the two big like expensive things that we recently got. Other than like we did get some more gym equipment. We got like a stationary bike and stuff. So we're just like slowly building a gym in our apartment. And I'm like, can we have a house, please?
I also bought a stationary bike. Ask me how many times I've used it. 2, 3, 4, maybe. I bought it like in June.
It's so nice to use. So, well, one, you can find like free classes, which I like because it gets your heart rate really going when you listen to them and they make you die. But if you're just wanting to like chill on it too, just put some Booktube on there talking about this perfect episode.
I actually bought a e-reader mount for it. And so the few times that I've done it, I've casually sat there for like 40 minutes reading, not at all breaking a sweat, not even a little bit. But you know, I moved my legs a small amount.
Yeah, there you go. It's something. Perfect. What about yours? What's your cheers to that?
My cheers to that is that I have rediscovered my love of video gaming. And this will kind of tie in to the theme of the episode about like taking a break and stuff. Because for the longest time doing Booktube, because I've been on Booktube for about 6 years now, I felt an obligation to like, oh, this is my number one hobby. I need to put all of my free time and effort into this because it's something that I love and I want it to do well or whatever. But I never took the time for other things that I liked, like cooking or baking or video games. And I finally have just like given myself a reprieve. Like if I want to take 3 weeks off of making content to play Stardew Valley 24/7, I can do that. And it's been a dream.
Aw, what games are you into? Stardew Valley.
Yeah, Stardew Valley is probably my number one game. I also love Animal Crossing. Those are pretty much the only two that I ever play these days. But
so for someone like me,
past love. Yes.
What is Stardew Valley?
Stardew Valley is basically a farming sim. It's really like calm and fun, and like you plant a bunch of crops and you raise your animals and you get married and you help people around the town, and it's just delightful. I love it very much.
Is it kind of like what's that one Facebook game that everyone was into for a million years?
Well, to be fair, I never played Farmville. But I highly doubt that they're similar at all.
I don't know. I did I play Farmville? I don't remember which one I played, but it was something similar. It was like during that time frame of Facebook had like 13,000 different games that all were the same. So I don't remember which one that I played, but it was very simple. It was kind of like a Neopet, but it was a farm because you'd have to go in and pull the crops in order for them not to be wasted. And then you'd have to, do the whatever.
There was like a fish tank one that I played on Facebook back in the day.
Oh,
I don't remember what it was called, but I just had a vision. I was just reminded of it.
I also liked the zombie one, the zombie farm something. It was a farm also.
I remember that. People loved that one, but I don't.
I played that one. And then, oh my gosh, Tiny Tower. That was on your phone though.
Do not recall.
I wonder if Tiny Tower still exists. I would get a Tiny Tower. It's like the same. It's like a Neopet where you have like, you have this tower of like apartment buildings, and you have to like make sure that all of the different people in the apartment buildings are surviving. And then the tower gets bigger, so then you have more and more people that you have to take care of. I think is what happened. Wow. I don't really remember, but I think that was what it was.
I love that for you. Good job.
Those were, well, I mean, as a kid, I also was into games, but I haven't been into them much as an adult. I get mad when I play video games. I mean, how do you lose Stardew Valley? I don't know if you can, but like Matt plays like, okay. So Matt plays like Call of Duty and stuff like that. And I'm like, I cannot, I get like mad when I play Mario Kart. Like I can't. Have a hard time.
I have to leave
losing.
I have to leave the room sometimes when Aldo plays like first person shooters because I just like, nope, I want nothing to do with it. I love watching him play video games, but I can't watch those kind of games. Just not into it.
Oh, sometimes
To
I
each their
find
own.
his commentary funny. Like, sometimes he says dumb shit that's really funny. But sometimes I'm like, wow, how many times can you yell, I'm lagging, bro? And I just don't want to hear it. Like, I don't want to know anymore. Please close the door. Like, shush.
Are Aldo and Matt the same person? Perhaps.
So funny. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Moving into the true topic. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with like kind of where we both have been like growing up reading wise, and then like how we found Booktube? Start there, kind of like a background history.
Sure.
Okay.
I discovered Booktube. It had to have been, I think, in 2013, because I remember where I was living at the time. So like I discovered Booktube right around then. And it was because a friend commented, like I posted a picture of a book on Instagram just because, I don't remember, you know, like it's just what you did back then. You posted on Instagram every single day, like on your feed, just what you were doing.
The weird challenges.
Yeah.
Like the
yeah.
monthly
So
challenges.
I posted a picture of whatever I was reading. And I had just started, like I had just graduated high school a couple years before, and I was finally getting back into reading for pleasure. And so one of my friends commented, and she was like, have you watched Books and Quills on YouTube? She makes videos about books. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd never thought about that. So I went, and that was right around like, that was the Zoe Sugg, Louise Pentland, like that was the heyday of like, so I was really big on watching YouTube, but I never thought to watch book content. It just wasn't something I ever thought existed. And from there I found Pulling Bananas Books and Jessie the Reader and like just everyone else who was having their heyday at the beginning of Booktube. And like I haven't stopped watching ever since. I just love it.
Yeah, mine was similar. Okay. Actually, going way back. So in 2010 is when I also started watching YouTube, like watching the vloggers. So same people, talking about Zoe, Louise. I was obsessed with Ingrid Nilsson back when she was dating Luke.
Oh my gosh.
Gross. Hate it. I actually went and met her, Joey Graceffa, Luke, what's that guy's name? Alex something. It was Luke's friend Alex. I don't remember him. He was also a vlogger.
This just reminded me though of how we were in the same room before we actually met.
Do you remember? God. No. Well, yes, you've told me that story, which you're gonna have to tell again for this episode.
I will.
Yeah, so I met all of those people, like not before they were big, but before they were big like they are now. Like we went to a meet and greet. It was a Harry Potter themed concert.
Wizard Rock with a W.
Yes. And it was at a Harry Potter bar, but it was like I think it had to have been 18 plus because I think we were both adults at the time in LA. You probably know what I'm talking. I don't even know what the bar is called.
Was it like, Whimsic Alley?
Yeah, it's the famous one. Yes. So it's at Whimsic Alley. So we go, and yeah, so like Ingrid didn't even have her own like meet and greet at that point. She was just selling the t-shirts, and her and Joey were both selling the t-shirts. And so we went and met them. Just like what? It's so bizarre to me, like thinking about where they are now because it's like insane. But so like that's how I was starting with the YouTube stuff. And then in 2012, I made a channel that has nobody availability. You cannot see it. It's hiding somewhere. And that channel, well, no, I guess it was my Miss Sassy Kassie channel, but in 2012, it was like all just like beauty stuff and very terrible videos. They were not good. And then that same year, I've always been obsessed with reading. Growing up, always loved to read. And so I decided I want to make a channel all about books. I had no idea what Booktube was. So I made this video on a different channel that this one is the one that doesn't exist. Made a video about The Fault in Our Stars and that other John Green one, the one with all the Catherines. Don't remember the name of it.
An Abundance of Catherines.
That one. So I made a video about John Green's books, just those two. Put posted it. It never went anywhere. And I also didn't know that Booktube existed at that point. So I thought that I was doing some like really cool thing, like this new, like I was so ingenious. Yeah. And then I didn't like the video because it was like before I knew what lighting was, all of these videos were terribly done. So then I got rid of that and just continued making the beauty videos. And then when I moved in 2013 up north to where I eventually met Matt, I stopped making them because I was just like, this is a lot of work and I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, like as far as making the videos look good. So I'm going to stop. And then I met Matt, and this is what is hilarious to me, because when I met Matt, I told him about this, like, he asked me like, oh, what do you do for like fun? What are your hobbies? And I was like, oh, well, I used to do this thing, but I don't do it anymore, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, that's so cool. And he like bought me a new camera for my birthday that year to like get me into it. And he like started editing my videos for me. And like, he started teaching me how to edit. And then, so that was like how
I remember
started.
Matt being a part of your channel. Like you guys did movie reviews, right? Yeah.
Yes. So like he was in all these videos and he was doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. And then slowly I started taking it over because like, obviously it's my hobby. Like I need to learn how to do it. And it's funny now because now he like refuses to be on my channel. He will not come on this podcast. He like won't, he will not. And I actually think that's even funnier because recently he got a Twitter and now he's tweeting at me. And I'm like, bitch, you won't come on my podcast, but you'll tweet at me? I am upset.
Matt doesn't even, when we do Google Hangouts, just the two of us, Matt won't even like peep his head in.
I know, but he's scared that it's online because he knows that we both do online stuff. But he never trusts me if I'm like, no, it's just, he thinks I'm lying to him, which is funny. But because I've done that to him. He has a reason to be scared. But yeah, so that's where I started, and like slowly that beauty channel that Matt was helping me with also transitioned into like the original goal was to have it be both, because I like makeup, I like skincare, and I love books. So I wanted all of the same things, all the things I love to be on one channel. And just slowly that transitioned into completely Booktube because frankly, I like those videos more, making them wise at this point. So that's how that went for me. That's how I got started. Who did I find first? I think I found it because I had a manager up north at the Applebee's that Matt and I worked at. One of my managers was super into reading, and we were both reading Allegiant. Terrible book. We were both reading Allegiant, and she told me that she was like she had just finished it, and she was like, I just watched this girl, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? There's people on the internet talking about books? Where? And so she sent me Padfoot and Prongs 07. That was my first booktuber.
I used to watch her a lot too. Mm-hmm. Gosh. And who else back in the day? I guess just like all the people that are still at the top of the charts on Booktube these days are the ones who started back in whenever that was, 2013.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I started with
for a long time.
I know. Padfoot and Prongs 07, Ariel from Ariel Bissett, and Sauna. Books and Quills, right? Is Sauna?
Yeah, I think so.
That's the history. Now, the stress of it all, the whirlwind, etc., is where I want to go next. I don't know how to open that up. That's how I'm gonna do it.
Well, I mean, I think you and I, because I know this because we have talked about this multiple times. We at the same time, because we've both been making, I think you started maybe a year before me, but for a long time now, right. 6-7 years at this point.
Yeah.
Of just like almost constant video making. And being a YouTuber it's so, I feel weird calling myself a YouTuber because it's like, I don't know, Booktube feels so different than like YouTube as a whole to me.
Yeah.
But the thing about Booktube in specific is like, sure, you're posting, let's say you post once a week, which is before I used to post 3-4 times a week, you know, but like your content on Booktube is not just sitting down to film that video and making that video. It's, you have to read the books, you know, you have to make plans, and you have to like the thing about booktube is like all of your time is put into it, because it's not just the video, it's reading the books, and it's planning the TBRs, and it's, you know, like participating in things, and it just gets,
and the editing part,
and I know the editing, that's my least favorite part. Oh, the editing.
It's one of the most tedious, in my opinion, at least.
But I mean, like, I didn't mention editing just because, like, I mean, every YouTuber has to edit. It's part of the job. But it's just like, you know, I was putting a lot, I don't know about you specifically, but I was putting a lot of pressure on myself. Like setting myself these standards of like, because I read, so I'm a pretty fast reader. Like I can read up to like over 30 books a month sometimes, just because like between audiobooks and having no life, I can get a lot of reading done. But so I'll have a month where I read that many books and I have a lot of content around those books. And then I feel like if I can't keep to that schedule or keep to that like standard that I set for myself, the content isn't as good. And so I was getting to the point where like if I was going to do like a weekend reading vlog, because I work full time during the week, I don't really like vlogging during the week. But if I was going to do a weekend vlog, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm like, I have to read 5 books or it's not a quality video, you know? And it's like, that's just not sustainable. And so I burned myself out very, very badly, very badly. And ended up taking, I don't know, 8 months off, 7 months off,
yeah.
A while, a long time.
Yeah,
So
a little bit more than
story.
6 months, but a little bit less than a year.
Yeah.
So my experience with Booktube is like as far as why I've wanted to leave and stuff is kind of 2 parts, but it is different than that. Because for me, I've never really felt the pressure to like the same way you're talking about, where like, oh, I need to do a certain amount of whatever X, whether it's like reading this amount of books or posting this amount of videos or whatever. I've never really felt that pressure because I've always really had a good mindset on I just like doing this. So and I also really like reading, so I'm gonna read whatever the fuck I want, and then hopefully you like it. So I've never really struggled with that part, but part of what I have struggled with is definitely the numbers game, which I think a lot of people struggle with in general. And so I don't know really like what happened, but I think something YouTube changed. I think they changed their algorithm because back a long time ago when I was still on Miss Sassy Kassie, so I rebranded and like changed my channel relatively recently, so that also happened, but not even talking about that part. But on Miss Sassy Kassie, I was growing relatively steadily and I was seeing decent like amount of views and getting a lot of engagement and stuff, which is like the fun part. Like I like to talk to people about the books. I don't just want to like post a video and nobody engage with it. Like I want to be able to have that interaction. That's the whole point. So I mean, that sucks because this is really where my back and forth goes, because this whole conversation is it. So like part of it is like, yeah, I want that engagement. So I was having that, and then something changed, I think, in the algorithm, because I don't feel like anything happened. I just all of a sudden saw my views go way down, like very little engagement, and it was like steadily for a long time. This was a big struggle for my channel, and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, where did everyone go? And I don't know what happened still, and I don't feel like my content disappeared, you know, like as far as like my quality. I feel like it's been pretty steady on that side. So it was just like frustrating in the back, like on that part. So then because I'm like frustrated about it, then it's like kind of me being me, because this is my personality, is like, well then fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore, you know? So then I'm like, oh wait, but I like doing it. So then I've done this in the past where I stopped making videos because of this, and then I'm like, but I really like it and I want to do it and I miss it. So then I come back. So then that causes its own issues, because then that really messes with your own personal channel's algorithm when you take a break and then come back and all that stuff. So that was part of it. That's been part of it. And then more recently, when I took a break, was partially just because, I mean, that part of the like lack of engagement is definitely part of it. And like, I feel like a lot of us who do online content stuff try really hard not to talk about numbers and not only to not think about it because really it shouldn't be about it, but also to not talk about it because it feels like you're whining about something dumb. And I agree with you. I know I'm whining about something dumb. But at the same time, like, it's the truth of it. So like, I don't want to lie and be like, that wasn't part of the reason, you know? So like, I don't know. It's a messy topic, but
yeah,
part of it was that. And then on top of that, it's like, I have obviously other like career goals and things. So part of me was like, I don't want to be like spending all of my time doing this when I don't feel like I'm having the fun part out of it, of like the engagement and stuff that I used to have. So then it's like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. So that was like part of it because I felt like I was kind of wasting my time. But then I like really recently when coming back, the mindset was the shift of like, I just like doing this for fun. And if the views are low, it doesn't matter because I know that somebody is enjoying it and engaging with me. I do have like a few people who I love talking to about the things that I make videos about. So like that's enough. That needs to be enough because I like doing it. So like, why am I stopping just because of something that, yeah, I did like too, but that's only one part of the big picture, I guess, is like what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no,
it's complicated.
I'm really glad that we both, like, we came back within like what, a couple weeks of each other, I think. Like, when did you did it? Like maybe 2 weeks before me?
I came back the December 1st. I started making videos.
Okay,
well,
so
I think it was like December 29th or something because I like came back with a video of like, where have I been? And then I did every video every day Vlogmas. In December.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I think I just feel like it was about the same time because I didn't post my video back until Christmas Day, but I started filming it before that.
Yeah. And we were talking about it all throughout that month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I, similarly to kind of what you were saying, I haven't really struggled with the numbers so much. That's not where my insecurities about Booktube fall. It's more about like my actual content. But I really just kind of came to a point where I realized that like I was missing, in the time that I took off, I was missing having the structure. And like what I love about Booktube or like the content that I make is like I love like setting a plan for myself and like fulfilling that plan and then seeing it all come together. And I'm just like, yes, I love that. It makes me really happy. And so when that kind of clicked in my head that like, oh, I can just like set myself an easier goal. I don't need to read 5 books in a weekend. I don't need to read 5 books in a week. Like I can just set a manageable goal, have fun. I don't have to feel like, I talked about this in my first video back. I talked about how I was feeling a lot of pressure upon myself. No one else put this on me, obviously. Like it's just in like watching other booktubers, like these people have beautiful videos and like they have great B-roll and like background music, and that's just not where I thrive. And I've learned that, and I've kind of just like let myself live basically. And I'm like, you don't have to like, just make what you want to make, do it the way that feels best for you, and upload content that you're happy with, not like trying to do not what everyone else is doing, but like trying to emulate what someone else does. Mm-hmm. And like having that like switch flip in my head has, I'm so happy with where I'm at content wise right now. It's great. Like it was a good decision to leave and come back in a better headspace and like really thinking about like doing this for me, and not that I wasn't doing it for me before, but like really now I'm doing it because I want to do it in the way that I want to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like part of this last time that I left and then came back, part of that time was spent kind of coming to the realization that like this is where I let my creativity out. And like before that, I had never really viewed making Booktube videos as creative. Same. Like, yeah, because in my head, I'm like, I'm not making the books, like I'm just reading it. So like, I'm not creative. And so I had this mindset of like, of it being really a critical look, which, don't get me wrong, like I love to critique a book. I will, if and when that is what I want to do. It depends on the book, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, I was really viewing it as like a review rather than as a creating space. And so, not to say that my videos are particularly like super beautiful and creative in like the same sense that you're talking about, where like some people's vlogs are so gorgeously, they're movies, you know, they're movies.
Yeah.
My videos are not like that. I'm not saying that that's what I'm creating. I'm just saying that like this is where my creative side thrives, is in the planning process, the creating, the actual sitting down and creating, and then the decisions on the editing, which probably are relatively basic. I'm not a super fancy editor by any means, just like we were saying, but like this is my creative side. So like kind of realizing that like you don't need to have this, like, it's the same conversation that a lot of creatives in general think about, like, oh, in order to be an artist you have to be paid to make art. But really, like, no, you don't. If you have a sketchbook and you like drawing in it, you're an artist. The end. Like, that's your creativity. So kind of like, putting that in perspective for myself this last time, and realizing how much I missed the act of not only reading, because I was still reading, but
same
then
here.
having somewhere to talk about it, and even editing, which I always thought I hated, but now like coming back, I'm like, oh my God, I like editing.
Same exact experience. Like editing was a huge part of another part of the reason why I stopped. Like I actually, right before, like when I decided to stop making videos, what I thought was going to be forever, I had a whole video like filmed and partway edited, and I was just like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And that was what kind of led me to be like, oh, I should probably stop. And at the time I thought it was going to be forever, but it turned out that it was temporary. But we're all better for it. We're better, you know, that we took the time that we needed. And came back, and like since Christmas I've only posted 4 videos. It's the first week of March now. But they're all videos that I'm proud of, that I really like. And I think that's better, you know, like, than just posting. Not that, I mean, I sometimes wish that I made a little bit more filler content, because I do enjoy having the content out there and I enjoy the process of making it. But, you know, we're getting what we get, and it feels good. Like, it feels so much better now to make content, because like when I'm actually making content, it's something that I'm very excited about. So, you know, it is what it is.
Definitely. Yeah, I also feel like, so like before I had left this last time around, I was trying to do 2 channels, one of which was like more of the lifestyle beauty stuff that I've talked about in this podcast that I like doing. So I was trying to like keep them separate, because I think a lot of viewers in general like to like have a channel that does this thing, and then like in their subscription box wise. So I was trying to follow like that part of it, but I've since realized, like, one, that was too much content for me, because honestly I don't have enough lifestyle and beauty stuff to make a whole channel about. Like, it's not something I want to talk about that often. And then also the idea of like putting that many videos out regularly was just too much. So I've basically gotten rid of the lifestyle channel, and when and if I feel like it, I'm gonna post it on my Booktube channel, because I don't care. Like, if I want to make it, then I want to make it. Somebody will watch it.
Good,
you know?
for you.
Yeah. And this is like, this is funny, because see how like this is so like hypocritical almost, because part of me is saying like, part of why I don't like making videos is because it stresses me out that not as many people are watching as used to. But then the other like hypocritical side of that is like, I'm gonna post whatever the fuck I want, no matter who watches it, you know? So like, what do? You have to find that balance of like the amount of stuff that, like, making sure, how do I say this like politically correct? I'm not going to, because I don't know how. But basically, like, the balance of obviously making the content that you want to make and doing it for you, but then also like creating the content within the confines of what's popular right now for the most part.
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to make content that will succeed.
Right.
Like, it's kind of like, I just think that you shouldn't go into it expecting something that you make to succeed, because then, you know, if it doesn't, you're hurting yourself, you know, like you're making yourself feel bad because this video didn't hit the expectations that you wanted it to. And even then, like, you can't always help that, you know, like,
Right.
it's just, it is what it is. I guess what I try to do is, like, I just try to think often. Hello, Dot, my cat's walking by, by the way.
She's so cute.
I know, I love her. I just try to keep like an eye out for what I think will kind of work, but also, like, I'm only going to do it if it's what I want to do.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Like, I mean, tags are still relatively popular. Like, I still see people who love to do them and who people watch and stuff. And for me, it's like, not interested in making tags anymore. They're boring to me. Every time that every once in a while, there'll be one that I'm like, oh my God, that's really funny. But for the most part, it's like, I feel very repetitive or bored, like, filming it. So I'm like, I'm not posting this.
Well, I mean, we both, like, back in that was a huge staple of early Booktube. It's not quite as popular now to do a tag, but they're still around. But, you know, we both, I mean, I have probably done 30 tags, maybe more, in my time. And it's just like, you know, this time is, how many times can I talk about the same books, you know?
Yeah.
It's just not, you know,
like,
you
how
go through
creative
phases.
can you get with them? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not to diss anyone who's making tag videos, because again, the whole point is, like, if you want to do it, then you should be doing it. But, like, for me, it's like, I don't want to be making a tag video just because it's cycling through, you know, channels right now, which means, it'll get searched. It'll probably get clicked on. But, like, if I don't want to make it, then it probably won't be that good, because I can't lie, I am not a good actress in that way. Like, no.
Basically, just make content that sounds good to you. And if you're making content that you're passionate about, that will show in the video, and people are going to like it and they're going to watch it. Like, I don't know about you, Kassie, but, like, I watch, like, YouTube videos from people who have nothing in common with me, like, but because they're so passionate about what they're doing, I'm hooked. I'm invested. You know, like, I watch a lot of vegan channels. I'm not vegan, but, like, they're just so passionate about, like, the way that they cook and, like, the things that they do, that I'm like, this is so engaging, you know, and, like, people will see that.
Yeah, I do watch, like, I'm not super into the romance genre, like the traditional romance.
Oh, I fully am.
I know you totally are. And I'm not into that. Like, I've tried, and, like, every once in a while you'll get one that clicks with me, but for the most part, that's not my thing. But I follow quite a few, for the most part, romance booktubers, including yourself. I mean, I know that we do also share other parts of our reading tastes, but, like, romance is a big one for you. That is just, I'm like, I don't know what the heck to read in this genre that I like.
Yeah.
So yes, I also do like to do that. The last part that I know I wanted to talk about was kind of like the history of, like, how important friendships are in the community. Do you know what I mean? I don't know exactly, like, how to frame this topic or part of the topic, but I just, like, for me, something that's also been really important in deciding to come back, and also part of, like, reasons that I've left, has been having friends in the community, period. Having friends who are also creating in the group, because, like, I've had friends who have been making videos and then they've decided to stop and, like, still don't make them anymore. And when those were your closest friends who you were, like, sharing the creative space with, all of a sudden are all gone, you're like, wait, what do I do?
Yeah. I mean, I think we both experienced that, like, you with Sierra, And then my two best friends, Madeline and Jade, they don't really make booktube content anymore. And then you and I together, kind of at the same time, we left and came back together. And I think it's like, I mean, I have friends on booktube, and I'm sure you do too. But it's just different. Like, how do I put this? Like, a huge part of the fun of booktube, at least for me for a while, was around having friends who were doing the same things. And like, you know, like it's fun to like mention like, oh, I saw this person talk about this book. And, you know, like it doesn't have to be a group thing, but it's a lot funner when it is. And so when those people that like you, I don't want to say rely on, because it's not like, it's no one's responsibility to like boost me up and, you know.
Yeah, but yes, I feel exactly where you're going.
But it is a bit of a change when people that you're friends with in the community stop posting. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but basically like there is a difference, you know, like there's a difference between the content that I made when my like core group of friends were also posting versus when like we all of us kind of petered out at the same time. And it's just different, you know?
Yeah. This time around, the reason that I wanted to bring this up is kind of for like, it's a good transition, at least for me, for like how I'm feeling now about making videos, because I've noticed that coming back this time around, especially right now, because like reading sprints are super popular. So it's like all of, which I love watching, like I get a kick out of a lot of different groups of people who are doing these things. And I do like watching them, and I do actually read when I am in a reading sprint, but
I can't. I get so
I know
distracted.
we've talked about this, but I do really like it. I've been doing it. I was doing one this morning with Becca and Cody and Steph and who else was in there? Jade. They were doing one this morning.
I
so
pop
like,
into them a lot, but I just keep them open, and then when they take their breaks, I'm like, hi, how's it going?
Yes. Yeah, no, I get that part too. Yeah, so like part of how I'm feeling right now with making booktube videos is, one, I'm loving my content and I feel really confident about it. I feel like a very big spike in like creativity and like ideas. I feel like I have so many ideas that I don't even have time to, I'm like, how am I can't do all of these things all at once. So I have to like make a list because I'll do some of these later. So all of that's going really well, but I also have been feeling like more lonely in the community, because even though I would say that I'm like pretty friendly with a lot of people who also make booktube content, and we'll chit chat back and forth on Twitter or whatever, but I'm not super close with anybody except for you on booktube right now. Like, yeah, like I'm not like friends with anyone. So it's like, it's that in between stage of like, I want to do like group things like that, but like I don't feel comfortable going up to a group who's already very close. Like it's clear that they're very close and being like, hi, can I join? Like, I don't know. I feel weird. And it does bring you back to the high school days, and you're just like, damn, I'm a grown ass adult. Like, why am I scared?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I definitely would recommend navigating it to the way that you would navigate a real life friend group. Don't
don't be creepy and don't be weird.
Like, no, people don't owe you friendship, but you know, if you're like natural and you you know, engage with content, like it just like, I have made friends just from engaging with people's content, you know, and that's
for sure
how sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't, you know.
Right. I think for me, this is like a real life issue that also obviously comes out on the online side of things too, except there's even more of a barrier because obviously you're not in person. But like, I have a problem making that step from we're really friendly and we engage and like we're acquaintances, to really like taking the step towards like, I would like to be your friend. Like, not saying that specifically, but you know that there's always that step. You have to take it in order to get closer.
I'm actually really good at being like once the initial, like if there's like a mutual following or something, or like I'm really good at being like sliding into the, like responding to a story.
You probably started our friendship. Like,
well, okay, I remember
I don't know how.
we became friends because, like, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, I knew who you were, and I knew that you lived near me, and I was like, I want to be friends with this person. We became friends through our mutual friend Dylan. I don't remember what happened, but I think you tweeted maybe about like watching my content or something, and I was like, yes, we're in. And so I think that I like liked your tweet, and then like immediately like went. I don't know if I DM'd you or what, because I don't have my own Twitter anymore. I can't check. But I definitely was. I don't. How did we? Oh, you know what?
It was for sure you. It had to have been you that instigated it, because I don't do this. This is my problem.
I think what happened was we had started talking right around Y'all West, and we agreed to meet up at Y'all West.
That is what it is. That was what it was.
I was so nervous because I had never really hung out. Like I had met like a couple Booktube people before, but like not really. Like I was nervous, but
I was also nervous. But wasn't Momo with me?
Yeah, Momo and Peyton were with us.
Oh, Peyton, I miss Peyton. Yes. So Momo was visiting me, and we were both planning on going to Y'all West. And I don't remember who. Actually, now that you mention that, I might have reached out to you at that point. I felt comfortable but you probably were the one that started direct messaging side of things.
Yes,
I tend to be
I
weird about it.
I just remember.
I'm just myself. Like I get so weird and anxious about like, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm doing the thing that we were just saying. Don't do that. Like, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm pushing a friendship, or like, and I definitely don't want anyone to feel like I'm only trying to be friends with you because you're a booktuber or you have views or subscribers or whatever. I'm like terrified that that'll be the thought. So then I'm like, I'm just not going to do it. But then like, I could be friends with people.
I distinctly remember the year before I had gone to Y'all West with Aldo, and I had a very small subscriber base. So I think I maybe had like 1,000 subs at that time, which is great, but like not really conducive to like, nobody's going to recognize you in public at that stage really. So Aldo and I went, and I didn't know anyone, and like it was very for anyone who hasn't been to Y'all West, it's very overwhelming. It's very small, very crowded, very hot. I get a sunburn every time.
COVID, no.
Oh gosh, no. But so and then the second year I knew that you were going, and so I decided to go by myself. Aldo stayed home and I went. And I remember I made friends with the girls in front of me in line. And we're still friendly now to this day on Instagram. We're pals. But like I was hanging out with them, and then you guys showed up right as like we were going inside. And at that moment, I was so nervous. But I remember like making the decision to just like fake it and pretend that I was so comfortable, and like, you know, like I was just like, I'm not gonna let my anxiety get to me. Like I'm just gonna be friendly. And look at us now.
Look at us now. Yeah, that day was so stressful too, because I remember you had said like, oh, I'll get there and I'll get in line. And so then me and Momo were making our way up to LA, and I had somehow put in the wrong, like, it's like a big street, like Melrose Avenue or something. I put in the wrong address somehow, and we were in a whole different city. I was pissed. So we were like, we weren't that late, but if any of you
luckily
don't know
it was
what
really
LA
early
is
in the
like,
morning.
Yeah, because it could have been like hours of lateness with how far away we were, but luckily with the timing of it, it was okay. So anyways, we finally arrived there. Yeah, we arrived there, and so the line was moving, and I'm like, okay, we were on the phone. I remember we hadn't talked in person before. Like, I mean, we hadn't voiced to each other before. So
I know, I was like, okay.
But I was like, I know the line is moving. I couldn't just text you. I was like, no, I need to know exactly where you are. So yeah, I remember like looking at the phone being like, we're just going to make this happen really fast, because obviously that's not necessarily how like I would have the process of all of these. You know what I'm trying to say? I don't know. Friendships are weird, especially when they start online, because you're like, there's certain things that you don't know yet, you know, that normally if you were meeting in a real room together, you would be able to like vibe that out, but you can't do that.
Yeah, it's weird. Like some booktube friendships that I have, like we hadn't had that much time to connect before meeting. I think meeting helped us get closer, actually. Whereas like there are other friendships where like we talk for a year and then we agree to share a hotel room and we meet for the first time, you know, like it's online friendships are interesting.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's how it was with like the Bibliothon girls. That, oh my gosh, talk about a throwback. So like back in the day, for those of you who don't know, especially for those who are part of the Booktube life, like it was who was in the Bibliothon girls? Me, Selena, Sierra, Kelly, Emma, Red. I feel like I'm missing someone. Brittany.
Was Katrina
7.
later?
Yeah, and then Katrina later and Momo later. But those two, I'm talking of VidCon.
The
it
original.
Was the 7, yeah. And then
which ties back into our meeting.
Yes. Oh yeah, perfect. So VidCon 20
I don't know.
I don't know. I think it was 2014, maybe. VidCon 2014, I believe. The 7 of us were planning, but Brittany couldn't come. So it was just the 6 of us. And so I had met Selena, Sierra, and Red and Kelly before. But even funnier about that, I only knew Red the day that I met all of those people. Red, the 5 of them had visited together and were coming down to LA, and Red messaged me and was like, hey, we're going to be in LA. Like, do you want to come have dinner with us? And I was like, sure. So I drove up to LA. I'm like about an hour away from LA. So I drove up to LA and met all of them, but I only knew Red. There's a picture. This is what's crazy because me and Sierra are like very, very good friends now.
Best friends. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're very close. But at that day, there's a picture of me and Selena and Red and Kelly, and Sierra took the picture. And I did not know her that day. Like we had met obviously, but like we didn't know each other. Isn't that weird? So then other than that day, we had never met in person. So then VidCon comes about a year later, and Emma was coming from New York, and she asked to stay with me the day before we all got into our hotel room. So Emma came and stayed with me. That was I picked her up from the airport. That was the first time I'd ever met her. She was staying in my house that night. YouTube friendships are crazy. And then all 6 of us or 7 of us, however many that is, shared a suite hotel room, like one of those ones that share the door.
Yeah.
And like, so weird because obviously you know these girls, but you've never hung out with them in person, and you're spending 7 days with them in a row, and there's not a lot of privacy in a hotel room. So I remember having a conversation with them like right before we all were at the hotel, being like, so like, how's everybody with nudity? Are we all gonna have to be in the bathroom and like getting dressed in there? Because that sounds sweaty and I'm not into it. Can we please agree that we can be naked? Like,
oh my
just
gosh.
to change. Like, I don't want to have to change in the bathroom. And everyone was like, you do you. And I'm like, okay, I'll do me.
Oh my God. Yeah. I remember, that wasn't the year that I went with April. That was the year that I went with like my real life friends, because we were big and like I've been watching YouTube. I went with some of my real life. It's all real life these days. It's so funny to say like in real life now, because it's like my only friends now are internet friends. But we went to VidCon. I can't remember if that was my first or my second year. I went to VidCon a couple times. But I've been watching YouTube since I want to say in middle school, maybe high school, like, but the beginning of high school. Like I remember, I don't know if you watched 5 Awesome Girls or like 5 Awesome Guys, like all like, man, you know,
going way back.
Yeah, I watched all that stuff way back in the day. So I was really into YouTube. And I remember this is where my history with Kassie starts, unbeknownst to us. The friends that I was with, they wanted to go see someone else. I don't remember who it was, but I was like, no, I have to go see Louise Pentland. I have to see Louise Pentland. So I went by myself and I sat in the crowd. And she does like a Q&A section. And unbeknownst to me, but I remember this, the time, I didn't put it together until we talked about it later, but one of the people who asked a question was our dear Kassie herself. So we were
when they did the Q&A, you come up on the stage too. So
and you were the only one too, right? Because they asked after that, like nobody else could come on stage or something.
No, there were a couple people that had gone up before me, but then something happened. It was like that guy. There was like a guy that he was like what was that thing called? Vine. He was a Viner.
Oh.
And he ran, and there was a horde of teeny boppers running past. So they all started screaming and were there. So that happened right at the same, like right after I had gone up. So then Louise cut the Q&A because she was like talking about that and also kind of like poo-pooing those teeny boppers. Like, don't do that. That's inappropriate. Don't chase people.
I don't remember that. But I do remember your
It wasn't very serious, but it was like, she like basically stopped at the Q. She didn't like, oh, stop everything. Now let me tell off these people. But she just, it was more casual.
That's not safe. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
I do kind of remember her saying like, that isn't safe. Like she's such a mom.
Don't do that. Yeah, exactly.
But you asked a question and I remember your question and I didn't know that it was you for a couple years later until we met for real. But I remember you.
Yeah. I asked Louise about her daughter Darcy cussing. I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but I was like, has
who's
she
like
ever
a
said
full-on
anything
child now, by the way. She's not even a kid anymore. She's like a tween almost.
Yeah. Wow. Weird. And Zoe and Alfie this morning announced that they are having a baby.
Wow. We've come full circle.
I know.
Weird.
Yeah.
YouTube, man.
I think that's the same year that picture exists, but we can't ever find it online because there was a Booktube meetup that year that we both went to, but we didn't know each other. And there's a picture of everyone who went. We're both in that picture.
Yeah.
So crazy.
I remember a funny anecdote. I think that was when I first started watching Booktube. Like I wasn't making content, but I was watching it. And we went and there was like a book swap. Do you remember that? Okay, so there was a book swap and I brought an edition of Throne of Glass because I had replaced it with the matching one, right? And so I went and oh my God, I thought it was so cool. Like I was like, I'm gonna make book friends. It's gonna be great. And I went to go put the book down. And it just so happened that I was standing next to Reagan from Peruse Project, who like we know each other. We're not like super friendly, but we know each other now. We didn't at the time. And I put the book down. And as I was putting it down, she was like, oh, like, I love that book, blah, blah, blah. And I went to like tuck my hair behind my ear to like talk to her. And I was wearing a massive hoop earring and it flew off across the promenade. And she was just like, oh.
I think I watched that happen.
Oh my God.
I think I was right next to you guys because I remember the earring flying past me and I was like, what the hell? And I was with Michael from Michael Book Lion and he like said something silly about it. He said, I don't remember what he said, but it was something funny. And then we moved right on along and like kept.
Yeah, no, I like immediately like, I was like, well, never going to talk to any of you ever again. Goodbye.
Oh my God. Yeah. The like weirdness of being a booktuber also is including like when you were not friends with people and you just watch their content and then turning into friends, you're like, dude, this is weird because like there is a lot of like, obviously at least most booktubers put themselves on the internet. Like they're not, you know, it's not a persona or anything. So, and some people share more than others, of course, but share stuff about their lives. So it's like, sometimes it's a little bit, you have to get through that like awkward step of like, I know things about you, but you don't necessarily know things about me. And this is
and like
weird.
you have to make the decision. Like, do you go up to them, like acknowledging that you know them, you know, like, or know who they are, or do you just like, oh, hey, like I'm Chelsea, like, you know, like act like you don't. Like I always go the route of like, I know who you are, because it's so weird to be like, I don't know who you are, you know, when you know.
Yeah. Yes.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's like good to acknowledge it of like, oh yeah, I've seen your, like basically like I've seen your work, like I've heard of you, you know? Like it would be the same thing if you were like, I don't know, at some interpreting meeting, because I want to be an interpreter, and you know of this person who's a well-regarded interpreter in the community and being like, oh, nice to meet you. It's like, no, obviously I know who the heck you are. Like what?
Yeah. That's just a life tip.
Yeah, I would suggest that. Man, okay, so anything else? Any comments?
We've been talking
thoughts?
forever. I'm so sorry.
We have been. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be a long one. Dot has a thought. Okay, last but not least, of the episode, we always end with a quote. And so I found a quote for us. I'm going to repeat it and then let me know what you think. So the quote is, creativity is experimenting, growing, taking risks, breaking rules, making mistakes, and having fun, by Mary Lou Cook.
I mean, pretty much sums it up. Although it's weird, like we touched on this a little bit. I never considered myself a creative. Like I just because like I'm not artistic or anything like that, but like YouTube really is like it's creative in a different form. You know, like you're putting together something and you're messing it up and you're figuring it out. But it's great. In the end, it's fun, and you know, I think that quote sums it up nicely.
Yeah, for sure. I know similarly, especially so like Matt is a graphic designer and has always been into art in general. He draws, he obviously does like the computer-y stuff, and yeah, super creative. And so for a long time, we've been together since 2013, however many years that is. We're about to hit an anniversary. Don't remember which one it is.
However
8?
long we've been watching YouTube. Yeah.
I know, exactly. I'm like, I don't know. Ever since we've been together, we've kind of always talked about how like Matt is the creative and I am a very, like, I'm a planner. I like organization and I don't get super creative, and like, I don't have a lot of hobbies that are creative, I guess. So we've always had this conversation. And then recently when I had left Booktube and then decided to come back, during that time frame, it was again the realization that like this is my creative space. And it was like a really interesting time to like talk about it with Matt too, because I think he also like didn't realize that it was like a creative space, because like in his mind, I'm just reading books, which are not mine, obviously. And then like exerting my opinion on it, I guess, but that's not creative, right? That's just a thought.
Well, but our whole title is a content creator. You know, like, and you don't think about that. Like, we are literally, like, what you were watching, we are creating content at this very moment.
Yeah.
You know, it just doesn't feel like it, or it doesn't, because it's not like the traditional, what's always been assumed to be like creative. You know, like we're not drawing, we're not sculpting, we're not painting. But, you know, creation has taken a very different form over the last, I feel so deep, over the last like 10 years. But, you know, I missed it. And I know you felt the same. You know, like I missed having an outlet of some sort.
Yes, exactly. An outlet. I felt so well, and like another reason that I went to Booktube or like fell in love with Booktube has been, I mentioned that like I've always loved reading, but I've always kind of been the only person who loves reading, except for my mom. My mom also has loved reading since I was growing up. But like I didn't ever really have a lot of friends that I could talk to the same way that like I fucking love books so much.
Yeah, clearly.
And like, and like nobody around me was like that. So finding Booktube, it gave me a place where other people were loving the same stuff as me. So like in that sense, I don't know how I went from being creative to having that conversation, but in that sense, having the like community aspect too, I guess, and being able to share, like, I think sharing is really a part of it too.
Yeah, like when I was gone, I was reading all these great books and I was like, dang, I wish that I could talk about this. Like, you know, like it almost got to a point where, which maybe that's a topic for another day. It's like, what's the point of reading this great book if I can't yell about it, you know?
Yes.
Which, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. But, you know, I'm happy on that note to be back occasionally yelling about books when the mood strikes.
Yes. Well, that's our episode. It's a long one. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys watched or listened to the whole thing.
Sorry for talking so much. Kassie and I just really get going.
Yes, we had a lot to discuss. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. If you're watching on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate and review us because it really helps out. And hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. In the description box down below, you'll find Chelsea's channel and Instagram. Do you want both?
Or that's all I have these days.
Okay, perfect. So I'll post those in the description box of wherever you're watching or listening to. So you can go give her a subscribe. And Yeah, that's everything for this episode. The next episode will be up in 2 weeks, and I have a guest host talking about her small business that she created during the pandemic.
Love
So
it.
that'll be the next one. And we'll see you guys soon. Peace out. We always cheers.
Bye.
Do you still have a drink?
Yeah, it's very cold. Cheers.
Cheers.